Okay, so I'm here today for Latin Business Today with Tom Laidlaw, somebody I've gotten to be very friendly with, a great guy. He's done a lot of stuff for us at Manhattanville College in our program there. He's just a genuinely good guy, and unfortunately, he played for the Rangers, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, despite our differences there, you being an Islander fan, we still get along. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you almost make me feel bad that I rooted against you, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I have to say, hockey guys are generally, they seem to be good people. A lot of friendly and fun people I've met over the years in college athletics, and the hockey guys always seem to be good dudes. So you would fall in that category. Let's start, Tom. Why don't we start at the beginning, as they say, your background, where you grew up, went to college, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. I grew up on a small dairy farm just outside of Toronto, a town called Brampton, Ontario. And, I talk about a lot how important that upbringing was for me because it was that dairy farm. We couldn't afford to hire other people to work. So it was my father and grandfather. They'd get up every day, milk the cows twice a day. Again, we couldn't afford to buy new equipment all the time, so they maintained the equipment meticulously. And I say how lucky I was because I didn't realize it until later on in life. I really brought a lot of that mentality with me throughout my playing career and business career and personal life too, that kind of showing up every day and working hard. So I grew up on the farm. When I was like 18, I got a scholarship to go play hockey at Northern Michigan University. That was 1976. So the first year they had a hockey team there was the first year I went there. So I was fortunate. I got to be a 4-year captain, which most guys don't get an opportunity to do. So we started the program in 1976. By the time my senior year came around, we were ranked number 1 in the country and actually went to the championship game at Providence, Rhode Island. Unfortunately, lost to North Dakota. But it was still a great ride to take it from, really, I guess, the worst program in the country to the best in 4 years. And then after actually my sophomore year, I'd been drafted by the New York Rangers. So I'd finished my college career off. And then when I was done college, I came to New York and started playing with the Rangers. Actually, they brought me in after my senior year was done to play in the playoffs with the New Haven Nighthawks, who are not there anymore. They've even torn down the building there now. And so I played the playoffs, and that was a great opportunity for me. It really gave me a feel of what the pro game was like. Came back in the next year at the training camp and made the Rangers and played for the Rangers for 7 years, and then got traded to Los Angeles. We had a good team there, but it was Los Angeles, and really nobody was that interested in hockey. It was a good following, but then I was very fortunate. Wayne Gretzky got traded there, I guess a year after I got traded there. And we became like a rock band. There was movie stars at all the games. It was the place to be. So again, I was so fortunate. I started off in a great city like New York, loved playing with the Rangers at Madison Square Garden, losing to your Islanders all the time, unfortunately, because they were in the middle of one of their Stanley Cups. And then when I got traded out to LA, and I now got to play with Wayne Gretzky, and how it just, the whole scene of it wasn't just Wayne and how he played, but it was everything that came with him. So that was fantastic. When I got done playing, I got into the agent business, represented hockey players for 22 years. 5 of those years I was with IMG, which was the largest management company in the world at that time. Mm-hmm. And then once I got done the agent business, I've gotten off into motivational speaking and doing podcasts and a book. I was fortunate to be on the TV show Survivor, season 39. I have another small company too, where we do, because of our network of athletes, we're tied in with we have access to people that manage big funds, multi-billion-dollar funds. And we meet people that maybe are doing an oil deal or a real estate deal and need money for these deals. So we're kind of like matchmakers for those people. So that's a kind of a side business. It can be pretty lucrative, but it's one of those businesses too. It's kind of lumpy. You go for years without getting a deal done, but if you do get one deal done, it's a pretty big payday too. So, right. So that's me now. It's I live the whole discipline. My company is called True Grit Life. We get up at 3:30 every morning, eat all healthy foods, go for a march, 4:00, lift weights. And it's funny, I get more. Like a lot of people I hear, it's tough for a lot of people during this quarantine time. They're not at a gym, they're down the dumps. But for me, it's, again, because I've gotten into this whole discipline, motivational world, I actually think that I've gotten more out of it this time off. I've gotten an opportunity to, improve my workouts, my discipline, my concentrating more on my workouts. I have this thing called putting your mind into the muscle. So when you're working out, you're totally focused.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been amazing because, again, it really helps me at home too, because there's nobody else around. So as much as it's just a tough time, obviously people have lost their lives with the virus and everything. I think, and I try to say to people, take this opportunity to get better. You've got this opportunity at home now where maybe you have more time to do things instead of just sitting around and feel sorry for yourself. It is tough, there's no question, but I found that I've got more out of this quarantine than maybe I would have in the previous 2 months.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think I'm actually cleaning the garage out, which is 30 years in the making. So when you have 30 years of junk and kids' toys, and you sit there every day and go, wow, I wish I could do that. Well, you're right. There's no excuse now. It's a small thing, but it's a win for me. So
it is true, right? I mean, that kind of stuff that you sit there and look at and you see it every day and you say, okay, sooner or later I've got to get to it, but you never do it. And then finally you do. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah.
So let's go back first to the hockey career, the years with the Rangers, obviously, some good teams and some, you played for a coach, one of your coaches at least, who was fresh off of what we're celebrating the 40th year anniversary of this year, the winning of the gold medal in Lake Placid with the big win over the Russians. Obviously, that wasn't the gold medal game, but a guy from that team, Kenny Morrow, played for the Islanders and won 4 cups right after winning that gold medal. But you played for Herb Brooks. Why don't you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, well, that was one of those experiences, not unlike, when I look back at growing up on the farm, you don't realize all the things you're learning from particularly my father and grandfather. Just later on in life, you kind of look back and go, wow, this is why I am the way I am, right? This is why I'm able to accomplish things or, make mistakes and recover. And Herb's the same way, when I coached him, there's times where, to be honest, I hated him. He just was like, he was always hard, always pushing you to get the most out of yourself. And you don't, as a young person, you don't always see that he's doing you a favor, right? Because all you see is the hard part. I tell a story. So Herb, I had my rookie year, then Herb came in to coach my second year with the Rangers. And Herb was really always prepared and always thinking ahead, planning and speeches and everything. And so we'd had our last practice before the regular season was going to start. And the next day was going to be Herb Brooks' first regular season game in the National Hockey League. So we're at our practice rink in Rye, New York at Rye Playland. And he pulls the whole team together at center ice. And he's giving a big speech about, Barry Beck, this is what I expect from you. You're the captain. You're a leader. Ron Greshner, you're our power play guy. Ron Duguay, you can fly up and down the ice. And then he gets to me near the end and he goes, Laidlaw, when you get the puck, give it to somebody else. You're not supposed to have it. And the guys were dying laughing because, I had a good rookie year. I had 30 points or whatever. And now I'm going to take another step forward. And he's basically saying to me, just get the puck to somebody else. So I was devastated at the time. But that was one of those things that you look back at in a strange kind of way in Herb's world. It was a compliment because he thought I was mentally tough enough to take it, right? That he was kind of using me as an example. Knowing that maybe I wouldn't get it right away, but eventually it paid off. And it was, the way he treated me too, he never, he would really get to understand each player and he would treat them all differently. He wouldn't just come in and say, okay, this is the way I coach. He would understand each guy and what really gets him going. So for me, he knew from talking to other coaches and getting to know me, I wanted to have that role, that I was, and I was fine. I didn't have to be the star player. And it's funny because he knew this before I did, right? He was able to figure it all out. And then my role was to be that defensive player. But it isn't just saying, okay, you're going to be the defensive player. It's really rewarding you for being that good defensive player at certain times during games. Right. So he would come down if we had a big game, let's say against the Islanders at Madison Square Garden, and we're winning 2-1 and it's 30 seconds to go and we need to kill a penalty. Some of those games you played on a playoff day, you're losing 10 pounds of water weight and you're beat up, Clark Gillies and Bob Nystrom, you're butting heads with those guys all game long. And he would come down to me, and you're tired, right? And you don't know if you got much left. And he would come down, literally kick me in the rear end and say, get the F out there, Mm-hmm. And I think back and it was kind of, other guys were like, what's all that about? But to me, he didn't ask me how I was. Because he didn't, all he knew was that I wanted to know that he wanted me out there doing the job. Didn't matter if I was 100% or 70%, he wanted me. So that's how he kind of rewarded me for being that good defensive player. And when he would do that, the adrenaline would pump through me. Like, because I knew, okay, he doesn't care how I am. He just wants me on the ice no matter how I am.
Right.
So, like, that just got me fired up. So that's the kind of stuff that Herb would do. Like, he would have sayings like, passes come from the heart. And he would literally be meaning that in like in a practice setting where you're kind of throwing the puck, halfway. You're not going all out. Mm-hmm. And he would get down and he squeeze the stick. He said, no, passes come from the heart, meaning you put your heart into it. Don't hope it happens, make it happen. And again, it's another one of those things that, like, I really believe, yes, he meant it, the actual act of passing, but it's also how you lead your life too. Yeah. It's like, okay, don't hope that something is going to happen, make it happen. So that's the kind of stuff with Herb that, at the time when he's teaching you the stuff, you don't totally get it. And then later on in life, kind of like the light bulb goes off, oh, geez, that's what he's talking about, and how he, he kind of built me into, like, he played a huge role in building me what I am today.
It's very interesting. I've heard you tell that story before, and it just struck me. And if watching the movie, how they portrayed him in the movie, and how, remember when he had the roster, and they were appalled because it's like they had a whole week of tryouts, but he knew, he said, I know my team. And that, what you're saying is exactly, he knew the type of guys he wanted. He knew their backgrounds. He knew, the work ethic, and for lack of a better word, and that's what you had. So he probably knew your background as, as a farmer, a farm boy, whatever the term is, and he knew you could handle it. So that's actually really kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. And that was Herb too. Like, that's one of the things I've learned from other people, but Herb was one of those first guys that I learned from. Like, his preparation was impeccable. Like, he would, so my first rookie year in the league, we didn't have a great regular season. Freddie Shero had gotten fired halfway through the year. Craig Patrick, who was Herb's assistant coach, because of his background and his family's background with the Rangers, we basically handed him the whole team, coach, general manager, and everything. But we just squeaked in the playoffs, and then had a long run in the playoffs. Went to the semifinals and lost to the Islanders on their way to win their second cup. So typically, when you do that well, you don't come in and change a lot of players. You usually keep the team together. But Herb was coming in, and we'd had a big, tough, physical team, and that wasn't Herb's game at all. So now Herb's coming into the team, getting rid of a lot of the big, tough, physical guys and bringing in smaller guys like Mark Pavlich or Robbie McClanahan and guys like the Ray Ruotsalainen. They were like skaters, great players, but totally different than what we had. So you would think, most coaches would come in and the players would be like, what's going on here? We just almost won the Stanley Cup, and now you're changing the team. But when Herb came in the room, he was so prepared about what he was going to say, what the plan was for the year, how we were going to play, how each player was going to play, who was going to be in each role. And he would talk to us. And when you left the meeting, you're like, okay, I guess, instead of being like, what the heck happened to last year's team? You're like, okay, let's go. We're going to win the Stanley Cup here with this guy. Like, he really was that prepared. And, I'm sure maybe he was, it's like, they talk about the duck sitting on the water, right? He's floating along. He looks like he's nice and cool and calm, but the feet are going 100 miles an hour underneath. And maybe Herb was like that inside. But man, his preparation and the way he spoke to you, again, like, I really think he gave himself a license to be that confident and exude that confidence to everybody else, that he knew what he was doing. It wasn't a democracy. He wasn't asking for anybody's opinion. He was the dictator. He was going to do it his way. And you felt like, okay, this guy's got a plan. So